Imagine being 18 years old. You're skinny, you're always sick, you have zero military experience, and you definitely don't look like a tough guy. Suddenly, your uncle dies and leaves you a note saying, "Hey, congratulations, I'm leaving you the entire world. Oh, and by the way, everyone wants to kill you." This isn't a movie plot. This is the real life of a teenager who played the ultimate long game. He went from being a nobody that everyone laughed at, to becoming the most powerful man in human history. This is the story of how a quiet kid outsmarted generals, kings, and queens to build the Roman Empire. Hi everyone, welcome back. So, we need to talk about Augustus. You might know his uncle, Julius Caesar. He's the famous one, right? The guy who got stabbed in the Senate. But here is the truth. Caesar tried to change Rome and got killed for it. Augustus, he actually did it. And he didn't do it by screaming the loudest or having the biggest muscles. He did it by using his brain. If you're learning English, this story is perfect because we're going to keep the language real, simple, and easy to follow. We are going to look at how this guy navigated through betrayals, messy breakups, and literal wars to change the world. The origin story. Let's rewind a bit. Before he was Augustus, his name was Octavius. He was born around 63 BC in a small town. His family was Ocaia. They had some money, but they weren't the top dogs in Rome. He was basically a normal kid, but he had one major connection. His mom was the niece of Julius Caesar. Now, growing up, Octavius wasn't a warrior. He was actually pretty sickly. He stayed indoors a lot, reading and studying. If this was a high school movie, Mark Antony would be the quarterback of the football team, and Octavius would be the quiet kid in the back of the library. But Julius Caesar saw something in him. He saw that this kid was sharp. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, the reading of his will shocked everyone. He didn't leave his power to his top generals. He left it to this 18-year-old kid. He adopted Octavius as his son. So, overnight, this teenager becomes Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. Let's just call him Octavian for now. The underestimation. When Octavian showed up in Rome to claim his inheritance, the older politicians basically rolled their eyes. The biggest guy on the block was Mark Antony. He was Caesar's right-hand man, a huge general, very popular, and very scary. He looked at Octavian and thought, "This is a joke. I can crush this kid." But that was Antony's first mistake. Octavian knew people thought he was weak, and he used that. While Antony was partying and acting loud, Octavian was quiet. He took the money Caesar left him and started paying soldiers. He started talking to the regular people, reminding them that he was Caesar's son. He realized something super important. You don't have to be the strongest person in the room if you are the smartest. The fake alliance. Octavian knew he couldn't beat Mark Antony in a fistfight yet. So, he did something purely strategic. He teamed up with him. He formed a group called the Second Triumvirate with Antony and another guy named Lepidus. It was basically a three-man dictatorship. They divided Rome between them. But to secure their power, they did something really dark. They made a hit list. They wrote down the names of anyone who had ever disrespected them or Caesar, and they had those people killed. It was brutal. It showed that underneath that quiet, sickly exterior, Octavian was cold as ice. They eventually hunted down the guys who killed Julius Caesar Brutus and Cassius and defeated them in a massive battle. So, mission accomplished, right? Not really. The real drama begins now that the common enemies were gone. The group started to fall apart. Rome wasn't big enough for two egos. Octavian controlled the West, Rome and Europe, and Mark Antony went to the East. And this is where the story gets spicy. Mark Antony goes to Egypt and meets Cleopatra. You've probably heard of her. She was the Queen of Egypt, incredibly smart, and very charming. She and Antony fell in love, yeah, or maybe it was politics. Probably a mix of both. But Antony started acting weird. He started wearing Egyptian clothes. He started giving Roman land to Cleopatra's kids. He was acting less like a Roman leader and more like a foreign king. Octavian, sitting back in Rome, saw this and thought, perfect. The propaganda war. This is where Octavian showed his genius. He didn't attack Antony with ships immediately. He attacked him with words. He started a massive PR campaign. He told the Roman people, Look at Antony. He's abandoned you. He's under the spell of this foreign queen. He's giving away your land. He made the war look like it wasn't about Octavian versus Antony. He made it look like Rome versus Egypt. He turned the whole country against his rival. If you search for the history of the Roman Empire, you'll see that this was the turning point. It wasn't just a battle of swords, it was a battle for the hearts of the people. The showdown at Actium finally, the talk ended, and the fighting started. In 31 BC, they met at the Battle of Actium. It was a naval battle, ships everywhere off the coast of Greece. Antony and Cleopatra had these massive ships, but Octavian had a brilliant general named Agrippa. During the fight, something crazy happened. Cleopatra's ship just turned around and left. She sailed away, and Antony, seeing her leave, abandoned his own soldiers and followed her. His army was confused, leaderless, and they got crushed. Octavian won. Antony and Cleopatra fled back to Egypt, where they both eventually took their own lives because they knew it was over. The rebranding Octavian was now the last man standing. He was 33 years old and the sole ruler of the Roman world. But he had a problem. The Romans hated the word king. If he called himself a king, they would kill him just like they killed his uncle Caesar. So, he pulled off the greatest rebranding in history. He told the Senate, "I'm giving all the power back to you. I'm just a public servant." The Senate was so relieved, and also terrified of him, that they begged him to stay. They gave him a new name, Augustus. It means the great or the revered one. He wasn't a king. He was the first citizen. It was a total lie. Of course, he controlled the army, the laws, and the money. But he made it look like a democracy. He made people feel safe. The Pax Romana. For the next 40 years, Augustus changed everything. After decades of civil war and chaos, he brought peace. Historians call this the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace. He didn't just sit on a throne. He went to work. He created a professional army so soldiers were loyal to the state, not just their generals. He created a police force and a fire department. He built roads that connected the entire world. He famously said, "I found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble." He made the empire stable. If you were a regular person living in the empire, your life probably got better under Augustus. You could trade, travel, and live without worrying that a civil war was going to burn down your farm. The sad reality of power. But having all that power comes with a price. Augustus's personal life was kind of a mess. He was desperate for a son to take over after him, but he never had one. He had one daughter named Julia. Julia was the opposite of him. She was a party girl. She broke the rules, and she embarrassed him. Augustus was all about family values and old school rules, and his daughter was out there living her best life. In the end, he had to make a heartbreaking choice. To protect his image and his laws, he banished his own daughter from Rome. He never saw her again. It shows you that being the emperor can be a very lonely job. Augustus ruled until he was an old man. As he was dying in 14 AD, he gathered his friends around him. He didn't scream or cry. He looked at them and asked a question that perfectly sums up his life. He asked, "Have I played the part well? Then applaud as I exit." He viewed his life as a performance. He acted the part of the humble leader, the strong savior, the strict father, and he played the part perfectly. Why this matters to you? So, why are we talking about a guy who died 2,000 years ago? Because Augustus teaches us something huge about life. He teaches us that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to win. He teaches us about patience. He waited years to make his moves. He didn't let his emotions control him. When people mocked him, he stayed silent and focused. He built a system that lasted for centuries. He proved that true power isn't about brute force, it's about strategy, self-control, and playing the long game. I hope this story inspires you to think a little differently about how you handle challenges. Sometimes, the quiet approach is the strongest one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history and you want to improve your English while listening to real stories like this, please do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow, and subscribe to Learn English with Jennifer. I've got so many more stories coming your way that will help you level up your life and your language skills. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.